On January 21st, 2024, an Instagram account named PPNorCal United made their first post. We are the workers at Planned Parenthood Northern California, and we are forming a union with SEIU 1021. This account is run by an organizing committee made up of workers from all different departments and sites. We believe that with a union we can secure better wages, fair staffing, and higher quality care for our patients. Together, we can achieve a collaborative working environment in which the organization is run with input from multiple parties and ensure PPNorCal provides high-quality, patient-centered care without harming us, its workers. Intrigued, I reached out to the email they provided and soon ended up planning an interview with a member of SEIU 1021's communications team. I was quickly connected with Syd Long, an organizing committee member of the union and employee at the Planned Parenthood Eureka Health Center. They kindly sat down with me over Zoom as I peppered them with questions about any of the union's happenings they were able to share. The first of which, what led to the formation of this union?
Been kind of talking about unionizing for a while, just kind of loosely, but mainly seeing other Planned Parenthoods be able to do it has been really, really nice. It's been really encouraging. Specifically, PP in North Central states, Planned Parenthood Rocky Mountains, and then also PP Pacific Southwest. Seeing them, seeing some California Planned Parenthoods be able to do it or go through the process of doing it has been a huge inspiration. There have been a few other things that have happened at PPNorCal that have definitely encouraged us to do that. I think add-ons of Saturday clinics have been kind of hard. They've impacted staff. Particularly because Saturday clinics got added onto our schedule without us being properly staffed for them. So, and of course, as we know, understaffing leads to burnout. We're always trying to do our best with patients, but we can't do our best when we're burnt out. So unfortunately, that's kind of the case with that. Something that was also really big is that a lot of decisions have been just generally made for us, unilaterally made for us, that directly affect us. And we just want a larger voice in the things that are affecting us. Definitely having a voice at the table is going to be really paramount. These things are affecting our livelihood, affecting the way that we can give patient care, give the best patient care. And so just mainly, like, we want to have a voice. We want to give the best patient care that we possibly can. And that means being cared for as employees.
Do you find doing this work in a rural area adds to these issues?
Yeah, usually with our patients, we have patients that come to us that are really impacted. They don't have primary care providers. They haven't seen a physician in probably years. They're students that have traveled out of the area and they live here for during school, but they don't have a primary care provider, et cetera. So they're trying to get needs met. And when we see patients, we end up seeing them that have compounded what we call chief complaints. Yeah, we're usually working on a number of things, and it definitely can lead to burnout. We love our patients. We care about our community so much. We absolutely try to accommodate everything and as much as we can. That's really important to Planned Parenthood. Health equity is really, really important to Planned Parenthood. So that is definitely something that can be a particular soft point with rural clinics, definitely.
Is there anything else in particular the union is asking for?
As far as more things that we've talked about as a union, we have kind of had conversations about separating PTO and ETO. As of right now, they're conjoined together. So that means that if someone is sick, they have to use their what we call ETO, which is earned time off. So we have to use our ETO for sick time and vacation time. So if we are unfortunately sick, then we can't really take time off for vacation. Or if we take vacation time and we're sick, unfortunately, we can't take time off to be sick at home and take care of ourselves. So that is definitely a big one that a lot of us have conversations about. Definitely consistent staffing ratio, in particular with medical assistants to clinicians. We definitely want to have more consistency with that. As of right now, I think that from clinic to clinic, it can be a little bit different how many medical assistants there are for each clinician. That's something that I think we're looking for a little bit more consistency. absolutely a voice at the table. We want to make sure that decisions aren't being made for us, that they're being made with us. That's really, really important. And I think one of the biggest things that are happening right now that we're asking for collectively is upper management staying neutral during this whole process. It's really important to us during the card check, and eventually once we get into bargaining stages for contracts, upper management and board of directors and leadership like Gilda Gonzalez, our CEO, many different people in leadership positions that are really staying neutral during this whole process.
Do you feel that upper management is staying neutral?
That is something that I can't necessarily talk on all like in depth. I would say that a lot of center management is absolutely like not having conversations about unionizing with us as because that can be kind of a tricky subject. With upper management, I can't necessarily say. It's just that we're seeking to make sure that that continues, the neutrality.
As I looked into this story and followed the posts of PPNorCal United, there were many posts and even news reports about various community figures sending letters of support to the CEO of Planned Parenthood of Northern California. These include Carolyn Weisinger, Mayor Pro Tem of El Cerrito, Jesse Arreguin, Mayor of Berkeley, Eduardo Martinez, Mayor of Richmond, and San Francisco Board of Supervisors members including Myrna Melgar and Catherine Stefani, among many others across the region. However, I haven't seen any such reports of community figures from our own area of Humboldt writing in with support, whether that means their support hasn't been mentioned or they simply haven't done so. This led to my next question. Has there been any similar support shown from Eureka?
Well, in Eureka, I'm not necessarily sure. We welcome the support, like absolutely with our community. We love our community. We want to be supported and want to support our community. We also have had our medical doctors in our TEACH program send a letter of support to management, which has been really, really beautiful. A lot of like bringing tears to a lot of staff's eyes. Like the level of support that they're giving, it's really wonderful. And me myself, I even cried like reading it. I like sat in my car and was reading it, and I cried a little bit. It was really beautiful. But as far as Eureka specific folks, I haven't heard of anything. But yeah, we definitely would love it.
Original posts show that on January 22nd, the union asked the CEO of PPNorCal to voluntarily recognize the union. On January 25th, a follow-up post announced, "It has now been 72 hours since we asked the CEO of PPNorCal for recognition of our union, and she has not recognized us. The CEO can still voluntarily recognize the union outside of the 72-hour window we set." A post from January 29th showed that later on the day of that last post, the 25th, they received a response from the CEO. But before I get ahead of myself, my question to Syd: what was the response of the CEO?
I just want to clarify that because that piece is complicated, right? Like within the time frame, we did get an email response within the time frame that we requested. It wasn't a response of voluntary recognition, but eventually we did get an email. I believe outside of the time frame with voluntary recognition under certain conditions. That initial response was definitely expected. I think that within organizations, there are people in power that are not always willing to relinquish that power. That is absolutely expected. Unionizing is a really delicate process. Often we have to work together and we have to understand each other and come to the table as equals. So I'm excited to see what the next steps will be. There has been a willingness to voluntarily recognize the union, which has been super great, of course, under certain conditions. This is really great for the union, like very, very great for the union, because it usually means that the next steps will be a little bit more streamlined. If we weren't being voluntarily recognized, often the next step instead would be a voting election among union eligible members. And that can take a very long time. That can be very dragged out and kind of a strenuous process. So this voluntary recognition is very much appreciated.
What are these conditions?
The first one is, which is something that usually does happen during card check. The first condition was and is having a neutral third party be the mediator during card check. So, and that's something that usually does happen during card check because we both want to mutually agree upon a third party, a neutral third party. And then the second condition was removing certain job classifications from the card check and from union eligibility. just due to their like potential closeness in like a managerial status. And there were a few other ones that were administrative employees that have like a little bit more close ties to confidential information. Those were requested to be removed. These conditions are being met and we are moving along very smoothly. So that's exciting, yeah.
Where do negotiations currently stand?
So right now where we're at is we're actually moving towards the card check process. Like I said, we mutually agreed upon a neutral third party, but the card check process is confirming the authorization signatures for union eligible employees. So essentially, like we talk with union eligible employees and they are supportive of the union, they sign union cards, and then the next step is card check of those union cards. So right now we are in the process of ironing out the setup for that card check process. We've already found a neutral third party. There was actually an initial meeting with that neutral third party February 13th. Their acronym is FMCS, which is the Federal Mediation Conciliation Services. And they do this very often. So that first initial meeting was to review that setup. My expectations and our union expectations are there is not going to be any concern in passing the card check process. We do have a majority. We have the numbers and we have a lot of support. So we're not at all concerned about that. And then the next steps with that are we are waiting on a mutually agreed upon time period to meet with FMCS to do the card check process. So we're just waiting on FMCS to let us know what day would work best, and then we can agree upon that together.
Earlier in this interview, Syd had mentioned Planned Parenthood of North Central States, who offers their services in Iowa, Minnesota, and Nebraska. In my own research of the union, I had actually found a story that reported on Planned Parenthood of North Central States back in March of 2023, in which 2 members of the elected bargaining team in charge of negotiating wages, benefits, and working conditions for hundreds of newly unionized employees were fired. The other 11 bargaining team members received final written warnings that threatened termination. It was a complicated story, with a mix of issues between certain employees, but was also speculated at the time as possibly being a union-busting tactic. It wasn't until January of this year that they reached a deal and ratified its first contract. I relayed the story and of course had to ask, are there any concerns of a similar response being repeated with the higher-ups of Planned Parenthood of Northern California?
As I said, unionizing is a very delicate process. Unfortunately, with unionizing, retaliation is always a concern. Always a concern. Right now, though, we are mainly just focusing on the continuation of that neutrality that we're experiencing with management and going through the process of card check and then eventually the process of negotiating contracts with as few bumps as possible along the road. Something, though, that I have found that is really, really beautiful is through this whole unionizing process, worker solidarity across many departments has started to, and it's already kind of been a thing, but it has kind of blossomed. We've had folks from government relations, IT, education, of course, the clinics. We've had clinicians that have been working in clinics for many, many years, all the way to front desk registration specialists that just got recently hired, all kind of working together in unison with worker solidarity towards unionizing. It's been really, really beautiful. Each voice is incredibly important during this process. And that's kind of what we're trying to bring to the forefront, right? Because each voice is important, collectively, our voices make us stronger. So that is what has just been so incredibly beautiful during this whole process, seeing that blossom. We have many different WhatsApp groups, and it is so nice just getting those reminders of union presence at clinics. Whenever we get a new one pop up, I think all of us just our heart just flutters a little bit because we're yeah, we're here. We're still showing our solidarity. We're still showing our power. It's really great.
What, if anything, can our community do to support the union?
honestly, we are doing this for our community, right? The way that we take care of our community is also taking care of ourselves. A lot of people that work at Planned Parenthood often were patients before, still are patients. Our community is important to us, so we definitely would love the support. Any way that people are willing to show up and support by maybe talking to friends, maybe telling coworkers at other workplaces, as long as you feel comfortable with that. Taking to social media, following us on Instagram, boosting our content, listening to interviews like this to understand like what the process is, to also demystify what unionizing is. Usually it becomes this like really large, scary process that a lot of people don't know about. And it's important to understand that it can be a long process, but it is absolutely a doable process. So yeah, that is definitely like showing support online, showing support in person. If there's any community members that want to write a letter to our affiliate to also voice their support, that is always encouraged. We got into this work to take care of people and make sure that people are getting the best care that they possibly can get. And also, if our employees are not being taken care of, then it's can be harder to do that. Burnout is very real.
Is there anything I haven't asked that you'd like to make sure gets said?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate this. I think that often in rural counties we get forgotten about. And in our union, rural counties are absolutely not getting forgotten about. We are having a voice at the table. We are making sure that we, as a part of the union, have a voice at the table. And so I just really appreciate you bringing this story up in Eureka, because it's allowing us to also just amplify that voice even more.
Thus ended our conversation. Since our talk, the PPNorCal Union has posted an update on March 17th saying, "We have mutually agreed upon a list of eligible employees with GILDA and Planned Parenthood executives. We have been waiting for FMCS to provide us with a date the card check can take place. Waiting is a tedious but necessary part of unionizing." Even more recently, while finishing the production of this video, PPNorCal United's page made the following post on April 9th. "After months working to negotiate a card check agreement, we finally have a date for card check. This Friday morning, April 12th. We look forward to celebrating our union recognition victory with you all. We'll be keeping a close eye on updates as they arise, and hope to see a celebratory part 2 to this video. Even though the union is on track for the card check process, this means this is absolutely no time to let the issue slip. It's important now more than ever to give the situation your attention, to back the union and keep the higher-ups in check. The best way to do that in the meantime is to be sure to follow PPNorCal United on Instagram to learn more and give your support. We'll also be sure to cover any possible updates on the Humboldt section of our newscast. A huge thanks again to Syd Long for making this happen. For Redwood Voice, I'm Persephone Rose.